You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 203.7. Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call-Leader sports editor Michelle Garmon's interview with Tipton head coach Cliff Hawkins before the Blue Devils take on number 4 Manchester in Saturday's 2A regional at Logansport.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Well, Cliff, first please tell me about Manchester, because other than I know they can put a lot of points on the board and they take good pride in their defense and that they appear to be big according to their roster, I don't know much about them.
Well, they're a very nice team, and they have some very good players, and one of them is the Benton kid that is going to go to Grace and be Grady's teammate next year at Grace. And he's a 6'6" player that really runs the floor well. He is a rim runner, and he can go inside and he can go outside. And anytime you average 26 a game, you're a pretty effective player because that means you've had games in the 30s and so on, and we have really been working hard to prepare for him. And they have a really nice team. The other head of the rattlesnake is a young player named Hendricks. He's a guard, and he's not very big, but he plays huge. I mean, he's just unbelievable. He averages about 18 a game, and he's really able to turn the corner on ball screens. And you have to really be prepared to guard that action with him, and you can't let him go because he can stand out there and shoot. And they're a very difficult team. They base a lot of what they do with their pressure. They're a big-time pressing team, so we obviously have to have great defensive effort, and we've got to be able to handle the ball.
Now, tell me a little bit about your team and the development of the young players, because I know you said early in the season, after games when we talked, that it was going to be a learning process and it was going to take a while. Do you like how far they've come?
Well, the progress has been fantastic. They've got a long way to go fundamentally, but they continue to improve week in and week out. And what I like about it is their determination and their grit. They are a gritty group of guys. They work very, very hard. And Grady and Sam and Landon's leadership has been so good with these younger players. Now, I know it's hard on the younger players sometimes. I mean, I think they've learned an awful lot about basketball, because you kind of come into this that, you're a good player when you're young. And so, varsity basketball will be just varsity basketball. And then you realize the preparation goes into it around this state of Indiana by coaches and players is really unbelievable. We had to work hard, to become the team that we've become. And fortunately, these kids were willing to play defense and rebound the ball, and that carried us a long way early.
Like you say, you talked about your seniors and the senior leadership that you've gotten. And I think, in talking about this on the podcast, I said, I think the one thing about this year's team over at least the last two, I think the one 3 years ago with Nate Powell was a like this. They're gritty. I mean, not to take anything away from from the previous 2 years, but you had so much firepower, scoring a lot, consistency with and deep scoring, with Nolan, and then Jack's athletic ability, Ryan Tracy last year. But this year's team, I think, is gritty because they've had to find ways to win tough games.
They did, and they had to stay tough mentally because it was very hard on them early on because they found that it wasn't going to be easy and that there was only one person responsible for their performance, and it was them individually. Now, our team works collectively together, but you also have to respond individually. You just can't run around out there. It's not, I tell them, you're not going for the ride in the minivan and just getting out and playing again the next game. You actually have to perform. And so I think these kids have continued to work at that. They continue to try to learn the game. I still have some of the younger players that kind of will just do things that don't fit what is going on with the game right at the time. But we've gotten better at eliminating that, and I think they're smarter now. And I couldn't be happier with how hard they play and how much determination and perseverance they display.
Yeah, I told someone, I said, I think what I enjoy about watching them with Sam and Peyton and even Grady, I said, those guys don't care if they end up with 10 floor burns a game. They don't stop going hard. They don't stop diving after loose balls. And I think that's what's so fun to watch.
Well, you think about what we came through last week, 3 games in 1 week against teams that had won 16, 17 or more games, and Franklin on their home court after 13 straight victories. That was an unbelievable sectional. And so this week has been really good by having only 1 game. We've really been able to put the emphasis, on the opponent because our preparation can be a little greater because we're not rushing from Tuesday to Friday to Saturday. We're really zeroed in. We've been able to break things down, and we've been able to try to simulate as much as we can. We understand this is an outstanding Manchester team that's favored, but our kids really believe that we can defend these guys tomorrow and win the ball game.
Grayson McFalls, I thought last in the championship, I thought that was the best overall game I had seen him play this season. And as far as on both ends of the floor in scrappiness and patience, not, gathering himself and then going up, letting the defender rush by and going up, strong, and then and catching and being ready to catch the passes from Grady and his teammates. And then on the defensive end, just really battling underneath. I mean, I know he's done that some throughout the course of the year, but I think for him, I know he's always been bigger than almost everybody he faces. So I'm guessing this, and the varsity pace is faster. I'm guessing that's had been an adjustment for him, getting used to playing against guys that maybe not might not be as tall as him, but they're juniors and seniors, so they're stronger than him, and they play at a faster pace.
Well, they're more experienced, and so consequently, I mean, he's had to learn a lot in a short amount of time. But a lot of times coaches will come out and kind of like just expect kids to be able to do it because they're big or they're quick or they're something within their game. But the thing of it is, that's been being done against a younger level. Now, like, when you're in 7th grade, you're playing against 7th graders. You're not playing against sophomores.
Right.
And so, think of what he's had to overcome with all of that. And I always tell coaches too, if guys don't improve with us during the season, then, we're not very good coaches. And so, I really put a thing on our coaching staff to understand players have to improve, and we have to provide the light and the opportunity and the hope for them to be able to do that. And I think Grayson is that perfect example of where he was in the beginning to what you saw, like you said, on Saturday night in that championship game. He's come so far, and he's got still so much more growth in him that he is a very good player, but he will become an outstanding player.
I would guess that the keys for coming away with a regional win tomorrow would be taking care of the ball against their press, winning the battle of the boards, or at least being even on the boards, and then just making free throws making free throws.
Well, I think all those are right. And we've talked about our defensive effort. We have to sustain for 32 minutes. We have to win every quarter, because if you can win every quarter, you can win the game.
Right.
And you can have one bad quarter and lose the game. So we have to stay within that sustained effort for 32 minutes. But I think here's the thing about our team. We're not going to go in there all starry-eyed. We played at Logansport earlier in the year. Our kids have won a championship against some very high-quality teams, very well-coached teams. And like I say, we won't come in starry-eyed. And we have some basketball tradition really working for us. And so we're really looking forward to the opportunity, even though we understand we're facing a quality opponent.
All right. Cliff, thank you very much. And I will see you at Logansport tomorrow.
Thank you so much to Michelle Garmon. I say this every time she's on the Central Indiana Sports Report, but she is the best. And thank you, of course, to Coach Hawkins for coming on the Central Indiana Sports Report and talking to our listeners. And, of course, thank you for listening. If you are interested in seeing the Central Indiana Sports Report continue to grow and thrive, please share it with your friends and family. Anything you have to say on this outro here? No? Gotta just wait till it hits the right spot and do Central Indiana Sports Report, the product of ITG Media, and I love Susie, blah, blah, blah. But it's like another 15 seconds before I do that. Nope, still like 5 seconds. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie. It was a long week.